Shalom, shalom, and welcome to White Rose family. My name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I am compelled to present before an awakening nation, set apart by the Almighty Father and Creator Yahuah in the name of Yahusha. This is part of the Judgment Warnings and Instruction series, my brothers and sisters. Today's date is February 8th, 2020. This is the 10th installment of the Judgment series. My brothers and sisters, end times are here. The things that are unfolding before our very eyes are real. There are those who would like to dispel it in many ways or want to just calm people down to make them lazy and complacent. But be mindful. There's a schedule that is set by the Almighty Father, and it will be adhered to. Whether we respond or not, it cannot stop, pause, delay any plans that the Almighty Father has for his people, and anything that has been prophesied cannot be stopped or altered. May be altered in words, but in actions, the realities will prove that they will come. Before I get into this segment, and as you can see, it says before nCov, meaning before the novel coronavirus, my brothers and sisters, I presented warnings that are proven to be real, and the evidence is starting to come to the surface. Stay tuned if you would like to hear proof or see proof or be pointed to proof that I've been speaking of things that are occurring, that are unfolding as we speak. Before I get further into this, let me read the disclaimer. Yashar'al, warning and disclaimer. The information contained in White Rose family represent instructions and warnings to individuals who believe they are drawn by the Almighty Creator Yahuah to Yahusha Mashyach. That's who these series address, my brothers and sisters. The content presented centers around end-time realities. Please be advised this site is not intended for children under 16 years of age due to its content, and this is to be compliant with various media platforms. By continuing forward, you agree to hold Symmanayah harmless of any influence in or actions that arise as a result of watching, listening, and reviewing the content presented. The views expressed do not reflect the owners, management, and or shareholders of this media platform. Please be advised, I am not affiliated with any other ministries with similar names. With that said, let's get into it, my brothers and sisters. Judgment, warnings, and instructions. My brothers and sisters, I want to say this. This is not to boast or anything, my brothers and sisters. The things that the Most High Father in the name of Yahusha has given me, I presented widely and mostly on YouTube. There are over 1,400 recordings. And until recently, I launched this new channel, White Rose Family, where I began to show video. Just as the servants, prophets and servants of the Almighty Father were killed, were persecuted, we are not exempt. Each of us are chosen for various reasons and various tasks. I know of no other direction to turn, my brothers and sisters. I must present the things I am compelled to present. Well, this is my way of pursuing obedience and worship to the Almighty Father, listening, discerning, and obeying Him. If in the event that this YouTube channel and Symmanayah's YouTube channel are shut down, trust in Isaiah 55:11. Any words that the Almighty Father has for His children will go forward and do what they are designed to do. Any of His words will perform the task they are designed. Whether shut down on a media platform, know this, I do use the same name, Symmanayah. Make note of its spelling. If for some reason I'm shut down and you want to reach out to me, I have a website. I have other means of reaching out. And I know it's not about me, my brothers and sisters. I know that it is not about me. It is about worship and obedience. And we will discover in worship and obedience comes fellowship, results in set apart ones coming together. Here and listen, O Yashar'al. The Almighty Father has a plan that is unfolding. To those who have no ears to hear and are blind, to those who find themselves unbelieving and rebellious and present themselves with deaf ears, it still will not stop the plan that the Almighty Father has. Yashar'al, this plan belongs to the Almighty Yahuah. End time prophecies have been spelled out in scriptures, and though we miss the intricate details and processes in the text, the living spirit of Yahuah in Yahusha's name reaches out to us. Now, many of you might wonder, why do I say that? Remember, no one can come to the Father except by Yahusha Mashyach. Also remember that the Father sent his set-apart spirit in Yahusha's name to teach us, as it is written in John 14:26. To teach us, to comfort us, to remind us. And though the literal interchange that you read in the text is his interaction with the taught ones, or some will say disciples, it goes beyond just them. It goes and reaches out to all the set-apart children, black or white, of many diverse nations, kindreds, and tongues, those who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father. Now, make no mistake, my brothers and sisters, nationalities must be recognized to fulfill various things that are written, but we must not stop. We must not swell up and think we have this sense of entitlement that is all about this earthen vessel that is the Hebrew, the Abrahym, and mistreat our brothers and sisters who are Goym, who are Gentiles. For we together are made one by Yahusha Mashyach. You see, my brothers and sisters, within these vessels that are made one by Yahusha Mashyach, no one can distinguish a color nor a nationality. But nationality, race has its place, and the inward man has its place. And it is our inward man that will live forever with Yahusha Mashyach. We will come to receive those who do not look like us physically, but in their actions and functions, we are together like the Most High Father in the name of Yahusha, as he has designed us to be. And I'm only speaking to those who are indeed set apart, drawn by the Almighty Father to Yahusha Mashyach. And just like as we have set apart ones among our nationality and among Gentiles or Goym, other nations, there are set apart ones in Goym, other nations, and they're set apart among Hebrews and Abrahym. And then there are wicked on both sides. In other words, wicked Hebrews and wicked Goym or Gentiles. With that said, Yashar'al, let's continue. This plan belongs to the Almighty Father Yahuah. It requires obedience, and obedience requires belief in order to demonstrate the fullness of what the Most High is saying to us. Belief, my brothers and sisters. End times bring about a time when, if ever before, we must learn how to discern and believe the works of the Almighty Father. Believe his workings as he worked in us, through us, one towards another. Belief. Consider the words in Hebrews 11:1 and 11:6. And belief is the substance of what is expected, the proof of what is not seen. Hebrews 11:6 said, but without belief it is impossible to please him. For he who comes to the Almighty One has to believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who earnestly seek him. Belief, a critical factor, my brothers and sisters, that we must be mindful of as end times ramp up. Fear. Fear is another thing, O Yashar'al. For look around as the novel coronavirus is spreading and ramping up. It is in addition to Ebola. It is in addition to diabetes, cancer. It is in addition to other plagues that are coming to the surface during these end times. Look at the combination of them, O Yashar'al. It is not to bring fear what man can do, but let us fear the Almighty Father Yahuah, for this is the beginning of knowledge. This is where we will receive the knowledge that is necessary for us to do what he is tasking us to do. And all the works that he is tasking us to do, O Yashar'al, we will discover he has equipped us and he is refining us to do all that he has ordered. The fear of Yahuah. Make no mistake, as end times ramp up, as widespread death and catastrophic situations occur, as famine, pestilence, and diseases ramp up, as earthquake and volcanic activity ramp up, as global warming and climate change intensifies, O Yashar'al, make no mistake, many will be looking for that place of refuge, that place of safety. It may literally be a physical place of safety while we're physically alive, or we may find that place of refuge is in our physical death, placing these earthen vessels back to the ground at which they came, and our spirit going to the Almighty Father, as it is written in the scriptures. Proverbs 14:26 says, in the fear of Yahuah is strong trust, and his children have a place of refuge. What say you, O Yashar'al? We're not to fear what man to do, but let us fear Yahuah, and let us not be quick to open our mouths for things we don't fully understand. My brothers and sisters, are you aware that numbers and graphs, when you look at them and you see one going straight up, and I'm using the graph that is used on the Johns Hopkins site dealing with this coronavirus. If you look at the graph going straight up in terms of those infected and then those outside of China, that line being flat, that's because it's a huge gap. The gap between those infected in China versus outside of China is so huge, it makes the bottom graph looks flat. But if you zoom in, you'll see that in the United States, there are 12 that are infected. There are others infected in other countries, over 24 countries with infections. And these numbers are increasing. Remember, my brothers and sisters, the seed of a matter can start small and then grow into something large, as what we are witnessing with the coronavirus. And as I stated, other diseases have not vanished. Measles, Ebola, cancer, diabetes, leukemia. Add all these up, my brothers and sisters. Pneumonia, the flu even. Add all these up, my brothers and sisters, and there are widespread deaths. But make no mistake, my brothers and sisters, make no mistake whatsoever. There are indeed watchmen among us. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, watchmen. There are mores, leaders, bishops, and teachers who are pushing their camps, their communities, their groups. And many of them push them as though that there can be no others out there that will contribute towards their correction or their strengthening. Let me read this, O Yashar'al, for as all that is unfolding, there are watchmen among us. And just as Ezekiel received the word from the Almighty Father, so too are watchmen that are among us receiving similar words. Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 17 through 19 says, Son of man, I have made you a watchman for the house of Yashar'al. You shall hear a word from my mouth and shall warn them from me. When I say to the wrong, you shall certainly die, you have not warned them, nor spoken to warn the wrong from his wrong way to save his life, that same wrong man shall die in his crookedness, and his blood I shall require at your hand. But if you have warned the wrong, and he does not turn from his wrong, nor from his wrong way, he shall die in his crookedness, and you shall have delivered your being. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, I cannot stress enough, there are indeed watchmen among us. There are indeed warnings going forward. I'm going to present to you some slides that will indicate that I was talking about the closing scroll. Like a scroll, habitable places will shrink on this planet. And I had begun speaking on this way before the novel coronavirus. Thus you see previous warning and instructions before nCov, meaning novel coronavirus. Here are some things you can look at, my brothers and sisters. And I'm going to go through some slides, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking on them, but I'm going to let you see that before this outbreak, I mentioned the fact that, like a scroll, habitable places will begin to shrink. This here is an image, my brothers and sisters. It's an image when I put up a slide, and I made this image on my, as a thumbnail on my YouTube channel under Symmanayah. And notice, my brothers and sisters, it says on here, habitable places will roll up like a scroll. And it says more. This was published April 20th, 2016. Pause it, look at it. If you go to my YouTube channel, it's listed below. You'll see that this was up way before the coronavirus. The warning came. Next, you see, my brothers and sisters, the picture, the image of the audio recording placed on YouTube. Notice the published date, January 22, 2014. Do you see where it says, like a scroll? Do you see where it says habitable places will shrink? 2014, my brothers and sisters. 6 years, a little over 6 years ago, the warning came out. Pause it, look at it, search it out, my brothers and sisters. January 22nd, 2014. The next one, my brothers and sisters. Man's Final Step, like a scroll, published December 9th, 2013. Over 6 years ago, my brothers and sisters. Do you believe that the Almighty Father had given us plenty of time to prepare, plenty of time to examine one another, plenty of time to discern his chosen leaders, his living instructions? Over 6 years ago, this was published like a scroll. Consider this. Published October 21st, 2013. Also, over 6 years ago. Do you see the word like a scroll? Do you see the word that how the Most High, where it says people will gather? My brothers and sisters, the times and schedules, and you can pause those slides. Those are all on YouTube under Symmanayah. This new channel where you see video, where you see pictures of me, a feed of me. And it's not about me, my brothers and sisters, not at all. But I am indeed your brother. I am indeed one who seeks to do the will of the Almighty Father. I am indeed one who will function and perform as I believe I am compelled by the Spirit of the Almighty Father Yahuah in Yahusha's name. Remember, my brothers and sisters, hear these words, O Yashar'al. The times and schedules are made by the Almighty Yahuah. There are those who may have listened to me talk about 6 years ago, rolling up like a scroll, and probably just brushed it off and say, well, he's a false prophet. It didn't come to pass. He don't know what he's talking about. Look around you, O Yashar'al. Search the word Exodus out of China, and you will find that before the widespread took out, over 5 million people left Wuhan. That's an Exodus. And I believe it is a foreshadow of the parameter around from the ring of fire that points to the promised land. It's a foreshadow. Soon and very soon, we will see millions exodus areas on this planet and start moving towards the promised land. And there will be those who are unbelieving. There will be those who will face physical death, not just by the end coronavirus, but by many other pestilence and disease, by famine, by earthquakes, by tsunamis. And the fire of the Almighty Father will rise up out of the ground in volcanoes, and we will see meteor showers. Make no mistake, my brothers and sisters, the practical and natural side might describe global warming and climate change. The practical and natural and scientific side may even indicate that man is on a collision course for total extinction. Yes, my brothers and sisters, total extinctions. And some believe it could possibly happen less than 10 to 12 years. It could happen within our remaining lifetimes. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, beyond the science and the natural, they are the realities of what the Almighty Father has spoken to us, has revealed to us. The times and schedules are His. The time is now, O Yashar'al, to recognize a set-apart nation will rise, my brothers and sisters. Set-apart awakening nation. Are you in the correct position where you need to be? Are you with the right people you need to be? The time is now to set aside the labels of saying I must hold on because we are blood relatives. The time is now to set aside I must hold on because this is my person I grew up with, my best friend, my buddy. The time is to identify those called, drawn, chosen by the Almighty Father to fulfill various end-time responsibilities and tasks that are going forward. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, you may be one that is tasked to lead. You may be one tasked to follow. Whether leading or follow, both of us, all of us who are drawn by the Almighty Father are tasked to follow His living orders, His living words and instructions. They will be confirmed and reaffirmed. Choose wisely, O Yashar'al. A set-apart awakening nation requires work, demands that we respond to the Almighty Father. It's not just about waking up and saying, I'm a Hebrew. It's not just about waking up saying, I'm a Gentile that's now joined with Hebrews that are set apart. There is work, my brothers and sisters. And the Most High knows everything and all that is required to move us into obedience. Let me read the following, my brothers and sisters. Matthew 24:4-5 says, and Yahusha answered said to them, take heed that no one leads you astray. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and they shall lead many astray. Be mindful, my brothers and sisters. Some will be led astray. And if you are one who give in to compromising communities, fellowships, and camps that you know aren't right, that you know are not demonstrating on a daily basis, drawing closer to the Most High and walking in obedience. You see, many of us are blinded by individuals who talk about their communities, their camps, their fellowships, what they did yesterday, last year, or in times past. Many are seduced by what a person done yesterday. There are even cheerleaders who will constantly boast on what someone did yesterday than what is actually happening. And let us not just go by the words of somebody saying, oh, we doing things, we building, we moving, we rocking, we building. Ask specific details. Learn how to vet and examine. Well, what are you building? How many have you built? How long did it take you to get there? What is the plan going forward? How does it connect with the gathering from the four corners of the earth? How does it connect with the building up of Yashar'al? Or are you more focused on your communities, your groups, your fellowships, your camps? Be mindful, my brothers and sisters, the time is now to come away from those seducing spirits that will lead you astray. 2 Thessalonians said, let no one deceive you in any way, because the falling away is to come first. I share with you, O Yashar'al, as 1 Peter 4:17 talks about judgment beginning at the house of Yahuah first. We will see the fruit of that judgment brings discipline, and out of that discipline we will see some fall away out of disobedience. But there will be those delivered. My brothers and sisters, I want to bring your attention, and I've shared this before, I want to bring your attention to the 6th verse, 2 Thessalonians 2:6. It says, and now you know what restrains for him to be revealed in his time. It's talking about the anti-Mashyach, or anti-Christ, or anti-Messiah. What's restraining him from being revealed in the fullness of his work as a servant of Hashatan, or Satan, are the children of Yahuah who must and will be gathered from the four corners of the earth. We are that restrainer. And many people take this passage to believe that that means we'll be raptured out of here before that come to be. No, there will not be a pre-tribulation rapture, my brothers and sisters. But there will be a gathering from the four corners of the earth before the physical return of Yahusha Mashyach. 2 Thessalonians 2:6. Begin discussing this, O Yashar'al. Unity comes. Diverse nationalities made one by Yahusha Mashyach will prove to be true. Look at the realities of what's going before us. Forced migrations have begun, and they will ramp up. And make no mistake, though there are great migrations coming out of China, there are still extraordinary large numbers coming out of South America, moving upward into the United States. You see, my brothers and sisters, like a scroll, it will close up. And I have stated that I believe the Commonwealth of Virginia, the state of Virginia, will be the exit point for the children of Yahuah that are called to fulfill the gathering from the four corners of the earth. Watch, O Yashar'al. This series is a series under the playlist Judgment, Warnings, and Instructions. I've established another playlist under the Closing Scroll where I will give updates periodically, letting you know how the scroll is pointing back to the land where life began. And then I have the playlist with White Rose family that are numbered. Each playlist brings about crucial and critical information for the coming together of Yashar'al. My brothers and sisters, Isaiah 11:12 speaks of being gathered from the four corners of the earth. Revelation 7:9 speaks about a great multitude which no man can number. And in the beginning of the 7th chapter of Revelation, it speaks of the 144,000 Hebrews, Abrahym. I believe the 144,000, along with a great multitude, together will be massive in numbers, millions, my brothers and sisters, millions. But when we compare it to the total living population, it will only be a fraction, less than a whole percent, a whole number rather. It'd be a percent. So you'll have a remnant and a great multitude, wherein with all that is written connects. Understand this, my brothers and sisters. Unity comes, and we will discover as we begin to get mentally, emotionally, even physically weak, some of us, we will discover that we have been equipped with the power and might of the set-apart spirit of the Almighty Father Yahuah. In the name of Yahusha, we will rise up, and we will learn how to look forward and not spend time looking back at what happened yesterday, what happened before we came to this point. There is much work to be done. What say you, O Yashar'al? End times are here. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters. Unity comes. It comes for us in more ways than we can imagine. Unity and movement comes. End times are here. Consider these words again, O Yashar'al. 2 Corinthians 4:16. Therefore we do not lose heart, but even if our outward man is perishing, the inward man is being renewed day by day. I cannot stress enough, my brothers and sisters, this is the season to get to know your inward man. This is the season to become acquainted with the Spirit in each of us as we interact with one another and recognize that we are made one by Yahusha Mashyach. By the orders of the Almighty Father, this is the season to know that part of us that will live forever. 1 Corinthians 15:53 say, for this corruptible has to put on incorruption, and this mortal to put on immortality. My brothers and sisters, the Most High has given us instructions, warnings, directions, and he gives us guidance. Ecclesiastes 12:6 and 7 say, remember him before the silver cord is loose, or the golden bowl is broken, or the jar shattered at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the well. and the dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to the Almighty One who gave it. Remember, the Almighty One, the Almighty Father Yahuah is everywhere at all times. And since our spirit returns to him, it didn't say our spirit returns to heaven. You see, there's this imaginary thing that the Almighty Father is just sitting up in heaven somewhere, wherever that is, and he's not everywhere at all times. Our spirit can return to his possession, and his possession will be that resting place where we sleep until resurrection day. Make no mistake, my brothers and sisters. This is the season to get to know the inward man of one another. This is the season to strengthen up and find where our power comes from the Almighty Father Yahuah. I cannot stress enough, O Yashar'al. Unity and movement comes. End times are here. There will be forced migrations. There will be screenings and vetting. And many people like to stay away from people who talk about vetting and asking questions because they have hidden agendas, or because they're lazy, or because they have no desire to become sharp and quicker than any two-edged sword as the Most High would have them have us to be. Seek out those who seek the Most High, and you will see these are those who want answers. These are those who receive answers. These are those who receive answers not for their own sake, not for their own hidden agendas, but answers to strengthen them and to strengthen Yashar'al, the set-apart family of the Almighty Father. Hear these words, O Yashar'al. Consider Amos chapter 9, verse 8 and 9. I've shared it before, and I was compelled to share it once again. It says, look, the eyes of the Master Yahuah are on the sinful reign, and I shall destroy it from the face of the earth, except I do not completely destroy the house of Yaakov, declares Yahuah. For look, I am commanding, and I shall sift the house of Yashar'al among all the nations as one sifts with a sieve, yet not a grain falls to the ground. My brothers and sisters, those whom the Most High has chosen to fulfill being gathered from the four corners of the earth, there will be screening. There will be vetting. There will be movement. I say to you, O Yashar'al, is 7 years enough of a warning to move? Do you think that those that are moving about right now, do you think those that are quarantined on the ship, do you think everyone that is being affected by this novel coronavirus, do you think those that are affected by famine, pestilence, and disease in other parts of the world, do you think those affected by Ebola, do you think none of these are our brothers or sisters? I say to you, my brothers and sisters, these warnings are going forward. And we will find that even brothers and sisters in set apartness will experience some of these things. For it is written that the Almighty Father reign on the just and the unjust. But we who are his know that these earthen vessels will go to the ground, whether it be before the physical return of Yahusha, or whether it be upon resurrection, when we are transformed. For no flesh and blood can inherit the reign of the Almighty Father. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, before the novel coronavirus, I have been presenting warnings with instructions, and I will continue to present warnings and instructions. And I have spoken them for over 7 years. I say to you, O Yashar'al, I believe there are others among us who have spoken about warnings and has given living instructions. Soon and very soon, things will ramp up and become more intense. Make no mistake, Yashar'al, there are plans that will connect into larger plans. And White Rose family, I believe the Almighty Father has given me a plan that links with other instructions that he's given to others. I invite your communications. I invite your questions, your comments, as you believe you are led by the Almighty Father. Those of you who have a hidden agenda and have no intent to worship and obey the Almighty Father, don't waste your time. Don't waste my time. But know this, the Almighty Father knows all and sees all. Let us begin to talk. Let us begin to act. Let us begin to prepare And for some, let us begin to move. My brothers and sisters, end times are real. You have been listening to judgment, warnings, and instructions. I have presented some evidence of things that I presented way before the novel coronavirus. I presented information that will bring about the oneness in those who are called and drawn by the Almighty Father. Make no mistake, O Yashar'al, proof and evidence will come. Even if I should find persecution and death, that doesn't stop the plan of the Almighty Father. Make no mistake, by the power and might of He who is the Almighty One, instructions and warnings will come. Guidance will come for the children of the Almighty Father. I salute your patience, your pursuit of set-apartness, your desire to worship and to obey the Almighty Father. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, my family, my brothers, my sisters, I say hallelujah, for we are witnessing the plan of the Almighty Father like our forefathers have never imagined them to be. We are put in a position, and it comes with responsibility. What say you, O listener to these words? What say you, O recipient of this video? Make no mistake, end times are here. There's work to be done. I salute you on that note, and I say to you, be of good health. More than anything, grow in discernment so that you are aware of what the Almighty Father wants from you, from me, from us. In the name of Yahusha, I salute you and say, Shalum.